Morning. Once again, we're out in the fields here in Avon. I'm Jeff Lee, Chief of Growing Operations in Avon. We'll talk a little bit today about Vitex. Before it flies away, you can see right here, my finger, there's a bee. This is really a good plant for pollinator. Vitex in general blooms in July and August, so this is one of the plants you'd want on your lot later in the season. It's one to consider. Vitex is marginally hardy in zone 5. This plant, however, is really good and hardy. It is a first edition's introduction. It's done very well for us. Unlike the other Vitex that we grew, where you get a plant that's 5, 6, 7 feet, this one stays nice and short. It's going to be in that 2 to 3 foot range max. See, it's a nice full plant. Plenty of flowers, plenty of buds coming on as well. Just a good overall plant. The other thing to remember with this plant, when you do get it in the spring, it does break late. So don't expect a lot of green foliage in April and even into the first part of May. So I want to talk a little bit about Simple Carpus here today. They're just starting to flower up. You can see this is the fruit, and this will get a vibrant pink. We also have one that's white. So this gives you some nice fall color, similar to Hypericum. They are just about done blooming. Most of these branches are loaded with berries. So as you can see, a lot of fruit in there, so this should be a really bright spot of bright pink here this fall. Simple Carpus is somewhat of a native plant, grown out natively in prairies, if I remember correctly. Extremely hardy. We try and keep these nice and short, so it's more of a what we call a florist grade plant, so they don't get real tall. But just something for you to keep in mind for fall color. So we're standing in leptodermis block here. This plant stays low. It's not really a ground cover type because they're getting that 18-24 inch range, 30 inch. You see they stay nice and tight. These will start flowering in June, and they continue to flower all the way to frost. Fairly fragrant. Flowers look similar to lilacs, and if you can look close in here, you can see there's plenty of bees flying around. This plant is similar to Vitex in that it breaks late in the spring. So if you sell them and your customers are saying they're dead, make sure they realize these don't typically break growth until into May. So it's another one of those plants that not a whole lot of people know about. Very hardy, very tough little plant, and it gives you a lot of flower power all summer long. So we're in a hellebores house today. These plants are known for being deer resistant, extremely hardy. They also bloom really early in March. Most of what we have here are newer varieties. A lot of them are tissue culture grown. That also gets you a lot of flowers early in the life cycle of the plant, and these flowers are also held more upright rather than drooping and straight down. Liners typically will arrive in April. We put them in these houses. We grow them this time of year. They're kind of in a semi-dormant state. So it's one thing to keep in mind with hellebores in the summer is you don't want to give them a lot of fertilizer and you don't want to give them a lot of water. Make sure they go in a well-drained area. What we do with these, we will come in and space these in September by leaving them can to can all summer. We'll actually keep the roots cooler, which they need to have cool roots. And then somewhere around the middle of February, we'll actually pick these plants up when they're about 25% bloom, put them in a cooler to hold them so we can ship them out in mid-March to middle of April. That's going to be your best time to get these plants. But this should give you a really nice full plant with lots of flowers come spring. So we wanted to talk a little bit about our echinacea crops. Right now we're in August, so typically all we have would be like Magnus and some of the seed varieties. We do some of these in the spring. We also do a lot with name varieties. This ideally is the way we want to see the plant, whether it's now or in the spring. Nice, short, full, compact, nice bud set coming out. What we look for in the newer varieties is the shorter versions, full, compact, and loaded with flower buds. Magnus, as you know, will get a lot taller. The other thing that we do is we treat it more like an annual crop. We get the liners in mid-February to mid-March. They're grown in a gutter connect greenhouse with lights. We need 13 to 14 hours a day of light which you typically don't get here in Ohio in February, March, and April. So we're supplementing light on these plants to get them in the flower better, and we try and have those targeted for mid-May to the end of May, so you got plenty of color for on your lot then.